Welcome to the webinar. This is Get Connected from Legacy Infrastructure to Smart Streetlights and Smart Cities. Good afternoon, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us today for this exciting webinar. Whether you're seasoned or just learning about this topic, we have a wealth of insight and information to share with you today. I am Michael Suarez, the Associate Editor with Smart Cities Connect, a brand of Tech Connect. Before we dive into the engaging discussion, let me quickly run through what you can expect during this webinar. Firstly, we have two great speakers who will bring a wealth of experience and expertise. They'll also be sharing insights and offering valuable perspectives. In order to have a smooth presentation, the audience will be on mute, followed by the presentation and discussion. Then we'll open up the floor to any questions from the audience. So we definitely encourage participation. So please feel free to submit any of your questions through the Q&A function, and then we'll do our best to address those at the end. Our two speakers are Dave Basil, President and CEO, and Chip Hathaway, VP of Products from TerraGo Technologies, a world leader in smart city application software. Without any further ado, let's kick off today's webinar on Get Connecting from Legacy Infrastructure to Smart Streetlights and Smart Cities. I'll hand that over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time out today to join us for the next hour or so. Our plan today is to take you through a few slides just on the topic at hand here, as Michael mentioned a couple times, and then I'm going to ask Chip to do a demonstration to show you some of the things that in our software that we're talking about today, and just to kind of educate, at least from our perspective, on what we mean by going from legacy infrastructure to smarter cities and the journey there within. So Chip, if you don't mind, we're having Chip do all the slide presentations, so I need to switch in between. So I'll be asking Chip to advance the slides. Go ahead, Chip. So just to start off, I'm sure there's at least a few people on the call that know TerraGo, but just to remind everybody who TerraGo is and what we do. So TerraGo is a commercial software company. We've been around for almost 20 years now. We do work in the defense and intelligence market as well as the smart cities utility market. We are a global software company. We have customers all around the world, a couple thousand customers everywhere around the world, but also here in all of our states as well. What we do for smart cities and utilities specifically is we have what we're going to talk about today, which is a smart city operations platform. And I'm going to go into that in more detail, and then Chip is going to show you more about that as well. But just at a high level, to understand what that means is we call it a platform because it is it's a completely configurable platform that's specifically designed for cities and utilities to manage their operations, field and operations center type users to help manage their field productivity as well as lowering their operations and maintenance expenses. And we'll go into that and more. We're very lucky to have some amazing customers all around the world, which do include 15 of the largest cities here around the world, as well as in the US, and 8 of the top 10 utilities as well. So we're very proud to say that we have many great customers that are doing amazing things in the city utility space. And that's been confirmed by many of our awards. And like I say, our awards are really our customers' awards. We usually sponsor the awards and put them up for the awards, and they graciously accept the awards. But many awards, from the Smart 20 Awards to the global awards over in the Smart City World Congress in Barcelona. Next slide, Chip. Thank you. One other confirming factor as far as our presence in the market and really the broadness that we have as far as smart city goes. So I think a lot of people know us as Smart Streetlights or Streetlight operations software, which we'll talk about as well. But just last year, IDC, which is a global research analyst company, very third party, very research focused, they did a study on all of the smart city operations platforms. As you can see on the left, It's one of your typical quadrant-like charts. They did a deep dive in all of the vendors that even play in the space. Only some of the vendors actually showed up on the chart at all. There were many more vendors that proposed that they actually belong in this space. These are the ones that ended up finally in there, that kind of passed that first level of test as far as being on the chart to begin with. And then you can see where we land in the top right area. And what I'd just like to point out, and I think you should demand this from all your partners and vendors on the right hand side, which is, two things from our perspective. One is our customer service. I think you need to make sure that any software vendor, any company that you work with, or any partner, is customer service is number one. It's that really is, and that's not just saying, hey, customer's always right. It really is working collaboratively with your customers on a regular, ongoing basis and making sure that you're understanding, listening, and really following their priorities, but also bringing expertise and experience and advice, from your company's experience and expertise as well. The other thing I like to point out here, and these are very specific things that IDC reported about TerraGo specifically, again, outside opinion, just the ongoing flexibility and future support of what the TerraGo platform can do for you, as far as not just solving your problem today, but in the next decade or decades, even the flexibility and adaptability of our software to go with your vision and your plan, with different challenges, different programs, different devices, different things that have to happen over time. You folks know this very well. None of you guys sit still, and you're not just doing one thing that just happens to be the same for the next 10 years. It's always changing. So another thing I would recommend very highly from any partner you have is to make sure they are adaptable and flexible to your needs, not you have to adapt to their how they work. Or how their software works, and that's how that's one of the things that we're very proud of that TerraGo does. So I'm gonna leave that there, Chip, and we'll go to the next slide. So now we're going to dive a little bit into that. I'm done with the TerraGo commercial now, and just kind of dive into a bit of the concept driving this webinar today, and the thread that we're going to talk about today, which is really this here, which is the key term here, and I know it's a phrase everybody uses, but it's a journey. Smart cities is not an end result, a goal. It's not a time and place right now. It's not a particular technology. It's also not a device. It's a long-term journey that will be decades and decades. It may never actually end, but really starts now for everybody. So it's not you're not a smart city, assuming you just put out a new device. That doesn't define a smart city. Obviously, there's many definitions of smart cities, but in our definition and our recommended approach, we see it as a journey, a very long journey, could be multiple decades. And it really starts now, even if you're not rolling out new IoT devices and new networks and all the great stuff that's out there to take advantage of. It really starts with your current infrastructure, your legacy infrastructure, which you have many assets already deployed and utilizing them, and you have many processes and systems, but it's really understanding where you are now, being able to effectively manage it, and then from there, from a data and a process and a system and people perspective, and then building on that is really where you start adding more into your smart city vision. But starting now to get that under control from our perspective is that platform, that smart city operations platform that we're talking about, which is, it's not, let's roll some technology and then figure out how to manage it. It's actually getting your smart city infrastructure and platform, your data and your process and your systems ready to deploy smart city type devices and smart city programs. It's not, let's go out and deploy some stuff and then figure out after how to manage it, right? So our recommendation is you start now with your current legacy infrastructure and build that smart city platform and ready to go. And I don't mean a particular devices system or a particular network or anything else. It's really about your operation. How do I make sure that my organization is ready to start deploying new technologies? And as we start building business justifications for these new technologies, that I am really confident I can deploy, manage them, and then make sure we're hitting or exceeding our business justification, the reason we did this in the first place, to our organization and our customers and our citizens as well. So again, we see this as a journey where you start now, you put the infrastructure, the operation platform in place first, and then you start adding your smart technology. So as we see this journey going forward from legacy infrastructure with a operations platform ready to go, then very something you can start with smart streetlights, which we recommend highly. We have a lot of experience, and a lot of folks are doing that today because it's one of the most predominant and very thoroughly researched and deployed technology. So use that first kind of launching pad to do your first kind of smart city deployment, such as smart streetlights, and do that with your obviously converting your legacy infrastructure into smart streetlights, leveraging your smart city operations platform, which I'm going to explain more in a minute. And that gives you the experience, the knowledge, and the understanding of how you can roll out other smart city applications as well down the road. So now you've done it. So now you've done it successfully with the platform and your infrastructure. Now you can start rolling out additional new technologies, knowing you know how to do it, what you need to do it from, and you've already kind of tweaked everything to make sure all the processes and systems and data are there available to you. And now you can start rolling out other technologies and IoT devices on top of that, so you and give you the confidence and your organization's confidence. We're going to make an investment here. We already know how to do it. We've already done it successfully. Now we're going to do it again, and you can kind of repeat that over and over again over the years. And again, these things will never change. You know that they're changing. Or they'll always change. Every year, new devices, even new upgrades to current devices are coming out every single year, and it'll probably accelerate over the next decade or two, which is great. So you want to be able to take advantage of them, but you want to be able to prove and show and justify that we've done it before, we know how to do it, we can do it again. And I'm sure you've done that in the last many decades with other programs and other technologies, and now you want to be able to do the same consistent, rollouts and proof of experience and expertise, going forward in the smart city way. Thanks, Chip. Next one. So let me explain a little bit about a smart city operations platform. Again, I mentioned before, it's not a piece of hardware. It's not a network or a communications infrastructure. It is literally software that handles your data, your processes, and your systems integration to make sure you have a complete control over your operation, your processes, your system, your data, in order to then start layering in these new devices, new programs, new rollouts. And the key is in the middle there, which is the Smart City Operations Platform. As you can see along the top, again, it has to support all of your assets or infrastructure or devices or sensors that you're rolling out, even not just your new ones, but your legacy ones. So I know everybody on this call probably has, it's not just smart city operations focused. I have my current assets that aren't smart, and I have my new assets that may be starting to be more and more smart, but I have one infrastructure to manage. So I need one platform so I can have full visibility and full management of my current non-smart assets and then my new smart assets, all in one platform, so I can have the same similar processes, similar data, and integrations all working together. Because I know you folks, as an operations management, own all of them, not just the smart ones, not just the non-smart ones, but all of them. And it's important that you have one way to manage them all, not only from the current perspective where you can manage a hybrid environment, but as you move forward, you're going to be deploying more and more new smart ones. You're still going to be deploying some, upgrading and maintaining the current legacy assets as well. So you need to have a platform that manages all of that. And it needs to be in one place. In the center there is the Smart City Operations Platform. So this is one place. There is no one system that any organization right now that has deployed that's really just for this, right? You have lots of large enterprise systems that everybody has to use, the SAPs and the Oracles and all these ERP and asset management systems, but they're for your entire organization. They aren't specific to this. So you would have to adapt everything you do to using those systems. And usually they're trying to give you kind of a hodgepodge of systems to work. This is the one that's really built for you and your operation. So you can manage everything effectively in one place. Now, it's not the only place, because as we just talked about, there's many other systems that are part of this journey. So as I mentioned, GIS and asset management and CRM and ERP, all these systems are really, really important because they run the rest of your organization. So the key thing is your smart city platform has to be integrated, not to one, not to two, but probably 3, 4, or 5 different systems, in addition to the 2, 3, 4, or 5 different devices. So it has to be able to manage both sides of that equation. And it needs to be able to share in two ways: data from those enterprise systems and data back to those enterprise systems. And sharing, one thing I want to mention, sharing is not just this massive synchronization of data. That doesn't work because not all these systems need all this data, and it becomes a maintenance nightmare to do that. It needs to be intentionally integrated through events, specific events and commands and actions that allow data to flow seamlessly between these systems, not just let's share all the data every night and see how it ends up. That turns into a data synchronization nightmare. So, and in the middle, the key thing, besides integration to the devices and to the back office systems, the platform needs to do everything you need. Number one, like I mentioned before, it needs to adapt to your needs, not the other way around. You can't consistently change your operation to adapt to the software you chose to use. That is a huge training nightmare. It doesn't even necessarily meet your operational requirements, so you're having to change what you do. But the costs are different, the performance is different, and everything. It needs to adapt to you. And that's for all your users. It's not, well, the field users use this software and operations users use this software and our analysts use this software. If they're all different software, they all see different things. Who knows if they're actually in sync and if they're actually working together. So you need to have that platform that's built for your journey on the smart city. Next slide, Chip. Thank you. And as I mentioned about the platform and the users, one of the key things here is you need visibility, absolute visibility to everything you're managing. That is data, and it's systems and processes and data, but it's also visibility on a map and location, so you can see everything that you have at the way you want to see it, whether the filtered or sorted or whatever those things are that you need to see and how you see it. You need to see your entire smart city infrastructure or legacy plus smart city infrastructure all together in one place. So as you can see here, there are all the assets here, from, this is just an example, from having streetlights and EV charging stations and meters and water, and everything is here. And you can see it all in one place. Because the key is, as you know, managing your infrastructure, and I know you all know this, is not just managing a single dot on a map or many dots on a map. A dot on a map represents the end game, right? That asset is out there somewhere and it's on a map and here's where it is. But by the way, and you all know this, that dot doesn't work by itself. It needs power, it needs communications, it needs infrastructure like a pole, whatever all those things are. And as I know, all of your jobs are required not to manage the dot on the map or that final asset, it's making sure that thing works. To make sure that thing works, you need to have all the infrastructure mapped out here so you can see and have full visibility into everything you need to do your job, from an operations management perspective, in the office, and also from a field crew perspective, giving them the power in their hands when they're there at the pole to do their job and do it right the first time and not have to re-roll a truck to come back. So you can see the kind of the web view here as well as the field crew here. They're seeing the same data and everything needs to be real-time synced. So the other key thing with a smart cities platform is the crews and your operations need to see the same thing at the same time, not different platforms where you have one mobile platform that they're using, it comes back and integrates 3 times around a circle, and then eventually your operations folks see it, or the other way around. They need to see in real time the same data, the same infrastructure in order to manage this effectively. Next slide, Chip. And just one example, from a perspective of just from us watching them go through a transformation. We've been working with the city of Chicago for years now. They're an amazing, amazing client and customer, and we've been collaborating with them for many years now, starting with their deployment of smart streetlights several years ago. So we really partnered with them throughout this whole time and continue on as well. For them, again, it's like everybody else, it's a long journey because they've already done a full smart streetlight deployment, and then there's more new things they're doing, upgrading and improving always, every single day. So it's a constant long-term engagement to, as we watch them continue to grow and improve and do things amazing and better. So we watched them from, really. They started out. I mean, they did select smart streetlights as one of their first, smart city type programs, but they recognized immediately that their their systems and their processes were legacy and older, and some manual and some paper based, and they recognized immediately and said we can't really move on this journey to where we want to go and keep these manual or unintegrated or standalone systems to do this. We can see that failing pretty quickly, or really costing us more money than it should. So, we started way back in the journey with them, and kind of helped them and collaborated with them. Obviously, they were driving the vision and the direction on this, but really utilizing a smart city platform that we have to really not only automate their processes, integrate their systems. That you can see in the middle there, multiple systems are involved, from their Salesforce 311 system to their GIS city GIS system and ArcGIS, and then Itron's SLV to manage their smart streetlights. There's a lot of different systems at play here, and there's even another system, the ATMS system, that manages all their traffic signals. So pulling all this data together and allowing them to run, as on the right here, kind of a fully automated, integrated, operations from a citizen calling in, or a network providing an outage, all the way through to managing the crews and the fleets and the work orders and dispatch, and then a full circle to make sure you're closing all of this out, communicating back to the customers and getting it all closed out, and making sure that's a fully automated, integrated, and managed environment. Again, as they continue to move forward and do new and amazing things there in Chicago. Next slide, Chip. This is my last slide, and then we're going to go ahead and let Chip take over to do a demo of many of the things I've talked about, so you can see what it actually looks like. But I kind of want to just summarize here about the platform that we talk about. It's not about waiting until you have smart city devices deployed and then having to come back and figure out how to manage them. It's about really setting yourself up day one on how to manage your smart city programs. So, and there's so many requirements that go along with smart city programs that you all know about, and those are the ones at the bottom. The multi-device and different network integrations, all the back office and enterprise platform integration I talked about, and then be able to handle. So once you have everything deployed, being able to maintain them and understanding where issues are coming from. Are they coming from the customer, or from the network, or from the device? Where are they all coming from? Be able to diagnose all of that and create really productive work orders, and then be able to manage those through analytics. So you can see here from kind of the left to right, as you start adding onto so the basis is the platform, then you start adding your smart city devices, as you can see on the left here, going up that scale to many, many, many different opportunities to generate revenue and all these different things. And then on the right-hand side, you can see, and I'm sure these are on all your business plans or your city plans, as far as here are all the goals, the outcomes that we're looking to do. And in order to, number one, be able to deploy the devices on the left and achieve the outcomes on the right, you can't have 10 different systems doing this. You can't have non-purpose built systems to try to manage all this effectively. You have to have a purpose built platform built specifically for this, that checks all the boxes on the bottom as far as requirements go, allow you to consistently add over the years, many, many different devices, and allows you to also monitor and manage and confirm that you're hitting all of your outcomes and your goals, including environmental goals and public safety and revenues, all of these, and lower costs, of course. All of these are great concepts, especially when you put it into visualization, but you need to be able to show and prove that. And I'm sure they're expecting not only to meet the goals you put in there, but exceed them. And then so we're going to go ahead and switch over to a demo. Thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate you changing the slides for me.
Yep. Give me 1 second here.
And I will, while you're doing that, I will go on mute and allow you to take over everything. Perfect.
Okay. So thanks, Dave. I'm going to talk a little bit about the software and the system. for city ops and the ability of what we can track and what we've built with the system. But just so you can understand what I'm sharing with you on my screen right now. On the left side here is a standard web browser. I'm in Google Chrome. On the right side here, this is my phone, iPhone that's being reflected up onto the screen there. So as Dave mentioned, this is the overall capability that we offer is about being able to share the information that's in the back office directly with the field crews, with the folks who are out in the field performing the work. And it's really that blending of just not information, but the operational processes that you go through to deploy technology and be able to manage technology and be able to track truly just assets to the level of you've invested, you have an asset in the field, you need to manage that asset, whether it's a smart connected asset or whether it's actually a legacy asset, and being able to help and assist with that transition from legacy to smart. So just to give you a general layout and feel for what I'm showing right now, I'll start with the browser on the left. Um, this is our latest version of TerraGo, TerraGo CityOps, and we can support with this newest version, we can support from hundreds to millions of assets. The system is designed around an ability to be able to show you all that information in one view, be able to simply access your information. Um, so as you know, there are millions of assets in this system. I could zoom out and show you that it essentially handles every element of data, every asset the same way. Down here at the bottom is essentially an Excel spreadsheet. It's your data, but you can see as I go through here, it's not just an Excel spreadsheet that's, just data thrown in here. This is actually the data that is in here is flexible, but it's your operational data. And you can see we can support really dynamic models, very flexible models. So in this case, I'm looking at poles and the circuits that they're attached to, and you can see I have links over to each of those circuits. I have the fixtures that are associated with each of those poles, and I can bring up the detail on each of those fixtures. One thing that we haven't discussed in detail yet is how configurable this system is. And I'll pause on that for a second because that is really through our experience with working with cities, utilities, all of our customers, is that we've realized that things change and the assets that you want to be able to track, the systems that those assets are connecting to, they change all the time. And your operational processes to support that technology change all the time. And so what we've developed or what we've implemented here is a low code, no code solution. And what that means is we have our organization can operate and run um, a no code platform where we are able to share information and be able to update information dynamically. And so you tell us there's a new asset to track. If you tell us there's a new workflow, a new operational process, we can configure that essentially overnight and be able to deploy that and make it operational ready for you in a very short period of time where we're not custom coding capability. We're actually doing configuration and providing configuration. And anything that I'm showing on either of these displays is actually fully configurable as well. So if I click on a poll here, you will see the poll highlights here, but also on the left side now, you've got what we call a card, and it shows you whatever information you want to show. Right now, I'm just showing height, material, and foundation. I can drill into the details. As a demo system, there's not a lot of detail here, but then also the workflows that are accessible off of there. So whether it's installing a line sensor, a fixture, or whatever else, I can quickly be able to access that information and be able to work with that information. Same thing with any asset that's being tracked in the system. And you can see everything dynamically changes as I click and move between different views here. So on the right side, I want to quickly jump over and just show quickly um, how crews and how folks in the field can interact with the information in the system and be able to walk through their operational processes. And importantly, folks have the ability to add new assets when they're out in the field. So not just being able to work with a set of data. We know that everybody doesn't always have the best set of data when they start a project. They don't always have all their legacy assets. So crews have the ability to add assets as they're out in the field and identifying things and working with the technology. So if I touch on an asset here, I'll touch on that same pole. You can see there's a different card that pops up from the bottom of the screen here. And you can see that the workflows presented are there. Again, everything that's in any of these workflows is something that is dynamic and can be changed based on configuration and the current state of that asset. So to use a common use case for us is where, there's a fixture and they're going to install a smart controller on that fixture. The ability would be dynamic so that if there was no, on that fixture itself, if there was no smart controller, this would prompt them for the ability to install that smart controller. In this case, I haven't linked a fixture to that particular pole, so it's prompting me actually to uh, create that. But you can see now where I've touched a different one and it's replacing a fixture is now being shown. And I can scroll through and touch and show the details on each of the assets that are in there. So this one has a controller. So this is a fixture that has a controller, and I can now say, hey, replace that controller. So if there's a smart controller installed, the system identifies that and presents different options to the crew. And then here's that controller that's installed, and you can see through our integrations with partners, we can pull the information and pull the data where we can show dynamically the real-time information from those assets, from the smart technology that's being deployed there, so that you can bring forward to that user troubleshooting information as they're out in the field performing work. So jumping back to the main display here, um, just a couple of points to bring up and something that I do want to show is the ability that we have to control users. We do support single sign-on. I'll talk through a couple of technical points here just to give a sense of capability. We do support single sign-on. We also have native users that can be supported in the system. I'll click on this. So we can connect to things like Azure AD or Okta or other identity and access management systems. So you can use your own identity and access management to control who has access. Within the system, as I mentioned, because we're so flexible, we have the ability to control through role-based access control, access to any single asset type and then where that asset type exists. So we have the ability um, to go in and be able to touch on this and be able to say, hey, this is for the work order types. We only want folks within specific projects to be able to do that. And then as I move back to users, then I can assign to each user any particular um, roles that we need to um, assign to that user. Click back here. Again, in the display here, this is an EV site. And I'll bring up quickly on the map legend how many different asset types are being supported by this system right now. And again, since this is all configuration, we can add more. Sometimes you don't need all this, and we can add it throughout, your different stages and your different parts of your journey of approach to a smart city. So in this system right now, we've configured things like poles, fixtures, transformers, basically the electrical infrastructure. But on top of that, EV sites, EV chargers, meters, water, both AMI or power, and water meters, power lines, cables, and water lines are able to be tracked in the system. Right now, you can see mostly in this view, I have the underlying circuit segments, poles, fixtures that are in the view that show you the interconnected nature of all these asset types and the capability for being able to show all these different asset types in the system. Finally, I'm going to show how a crew has the ability to move over and add new assets to the system. So if I want to create a brand new poll, I can create a poll by walking through a workflow. So again, as configurable as the system is, the workflow comes up. It shows me my options. This is a quick test or a demo poll that I'm going to set up. So, and I'll apologize, I'm up in outside of Washington, D.C., and my demo's down in Raleigh. So I will zoom in to Raleigh. And so a crew has the ability to see the assets. They can use the current phone. So in this case, I'm using my phone, but they can use the GPS off the phone to add a new asset, or they can actually tap on the screen where they're looking in the map. So let's say I add a new asset, new poll here on this side, say done. And I'm going to connect it over to a new poll. And here's the next poll, say done. And I'm going to identify the circuit that it's on, say done. And now on this screen in the mobile device, you can see the new poll that was added, test 1, 2, 3, and then you can also see the poll that was added up here. And you can see the associated connection between the two polls. So I said that this poll and this poll are related to each other, and they're now connected, and they're showing each other there. So that's the kind of flexibility, and there's the circuit segment that is joining, called it circuit A, and that's the flexibility of the system where you can essentially build out any business logic to join these assets. This information then could be synced up into your asset management, GIS systems, or anything else that you need to, any back-end systems that you need to update. And this is really about managing your assets that are out in the field, getting the best possible information from the field and seeing it as built in the field, and then getting that back into your systems of record that manage the information.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna go and jump in if there's anything else you want to add, Chip, before I kind of go into the Q&A.
Nope, nothing else. I'm
Awesome.
going to
Okay. Well,
jump
thank
back to
you,
the
Dave
presentation here.
and Chip. That was a great presentation. Just want to remind everyone there is an icon with a question mark. It should be on your right hand side. So if you want to drop in any questions, we highly encourage that. But for now, I want to start off with one of the questions is, does your platform provide an application for 311 in case citizens want to report a streetlight outage or any other service requests?
Yeah, I'll start, Chip, and you can jump in, obviously, with any backup. So the answer is yes, and I know some folks that are Terra customers and know TerraGo. This might be actually fairly new. We've just been rolling it out for the last year, I think, or so. What we did is add on, as Chip mentioned, there's different permissions and roles and users in all of our whole platform. But there's another role, as I'm sure you can imagine, which is the customer or the citizen, which doesn't need access to manage the assets or manage the devices. It's really about interacting with your citizen customers. So we have a brand new, newish module called the community engagement module. And it's literally for that, specifically to engage with your community, whoever that might be. And it's, as Chip mentioned several times, it is completely configurable. So however you want to engage with your community is what this module is for. The first thing is, it is a separate web interface. It looks similar to what Chip showed you, but it's much more, there's much less on it because they don't need to manage data and all that. So you only show them what you want to show them, and then you only give them the capabilities that you want to give them. They don't have to log in. So, well, I guess they don't have to log in because it could be a public facing for your citizens or your community. So it can be plugged into your own current website, or it can be its own standalone website. And they can do many things. And one thing that might Michael just mentioned was it can be an outage reporting capability. So number one, because it's plugged into our platform, it will have all the real-time current status of every asset that you want to show your community. So they'll be able to go in and see. So it won't be a blank map or just a form to fill out. They'll be able to see the current status of the assets they're trying to report outages or information on, and allow them to report it. If it already has an outage or there's a status on it, they'll see that as well in real time, so you can minimize the number of outage reports you get on the same assets. They could also sign up. We also manage the communication to your, if you want, to your community, so they can sign up. If there's already an outage on it, they can sign up to get status updates on that as well. And then we integrate in the back end to anything that's required and make sure we do a full closed loop with your community through that process. That same module can be configured to do things like provide status of your smart city programs. So a lot of communities know about these programs that are going, and you can show them where it's been deployed, where it's going next, and the vision and the plan that you have for deploying all this. And in other cases, it could be getting more information from them in the form of surveys or requests or other information. So yes, 3-in-1 from a community engagement module perspective, but there's so much more that module can do for you as well.
Great. So another question that it's pretty similar is, can you use that platform to pilot multiple IoT devices or smart sensors from different vendors?
You want to take that one, Chip?
Sure, I can take that. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's kind of one of the keys of the system is that from an asset perspective, we can hook in any device type we can define that device type based on, the attributes of that specific device, whether it's a gunshot sensor, pollution sensor, or air quality sensor. We can include whatever attributes you need, and then we really focus on our integrations on the back end, on being able to pull that information from that device, be able to allow you to manage it. But yeah, we have complete flexibility to define new devices and be able to integrate with those devices. And when as a part of that question, if you're trialing or you're prototyping or your early stages in testing a new device, that's where really the power of that flexibility comes into play, because as you learn how to deploy and as you learn how to manage that device, we can change how the system is handling that information being provided by the device and the types of actions and activities a crew would use in the field.
Thank you. Another question we have here is, how does your platform help manage our legacy assets that are not connected? How do you bring them onto your platform?
Right, what a great question. And we touched on it a little bit, and I know Chip and I both kind of mentioned a few times, but what does that really mean? And when we talk about this smart city journey, I mean, you don't start at the end where you have all these IoT connected devices already out there, and now you're kind of plugging something to talk to them all. I mean, it's a long time, over decades, that you're doing this. So as I mentioned at one point, how do you manage all of this hybrid, smart and non-smart environment while you're doing these deployments? And the way that we look at it is, first and foremost, you want to manage those assets in the field. Whether it's smart or not is a whole separate thing. So you have them all out there. You have infrastructure, you have poles and circuits and assets already out there today. Hundreds or millions of them, or thousands of them. So the key thing is, today you don't necessarily they don't have to be smart for you to then manage them smartly. So you have to be able to your systems have to be integrated. You have to one system to see everything in one place and get that information shared from different systems of record like GIS and work orders and others, and bring it into one place so you can actually see them all and manage them all in one place, and then have one process. So without the smart enablement, the whole goal is to make sure you're managing them effectively to get customer satisfaction at the lowest cost possible. And that's what we do. And that you do that through automation and integration and standard processes and data management. That is a core to your platform that you need in order to do, even before you enable those devices on the field to be smart. Then once you start enabling the devices in the field and they're smart, that just enables you to do more stuff. So you don't wait until you make the devices smart in order to get a smart managed infrastructure. You have that, and then once you do enable them to be smart and connected, then you can do other additional things and more advanced things with those devices and get better things like network outages and command and control them and do different things like that. That's on top of managing your legacy infrastructure.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Well, we are at time, and so I want to thank both Dave and Chip for joining us in this webinar today and providing that information. Thank you, everyone who joined us as well. As we conclude, we encourage you all to stay connected, and please feel free to reach out with any further questions. This webinar will be available on demand a week from now on our Smart Cities Connect and Media Research site. So if you have any questions or you want to take a look at it, feel free to go to our site and review that. We appreciate your time and participation. And until next time, please take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Michael. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.